Today is June the 17th, 2025. The time 6 o'clock. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Ackrey?
Here.
Commissioner Downing? Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Tubby?
Here.
Mayor Washington?
Here.
We have our quorum and are duly qualified to conduct business.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before we move to presentations, just two items that we're going to add to the caucus agenda. One from Human Resources, two walk-ons. We'll make that under Director Lewis can add that to her presentation when she comes forward. And then I asked for two names to be added for board appointments for next week. So without objections, we'll add that, walk that onto the agenda. And before us, we have a guest. Kent County Judge Executive Chris Knockelman's here. So, Judge, welcome.
Great. Well, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Thanks for giving me a couple minutes to just share with you a couple of updates of what's going on with the county in general, and maybe in particular what's happening with our relationship with Covington as well. Since the last time I addressed this court, I've now become a resident of the city of Covington. So I've been in Covington now since September, and of course I'm here almost every day, all day. So it's great to be here, and I'm loving the city every day. A couple of items I'd love to just share with you, mostly good news, but and I think it's always about cooperation and really working with the mayor, the staff, and that continues to be great. But just as a couple of things to just go back and revisit the things we will already do together, and I know a couple of newer faces over the past few months. In particular, I'll start off with dispatch. So as you know, we have a consolidated Kenton County dispatch operation. We're very proud of that, and we work very closely with your police and fire department. In fact, actually board seats are there from the city of Covington every day and all the time. In particular, I want to just speak to the fact that we are the system that's actually in unincorporated Kenton County, the team that's out there run by Ashley Hawks. We're real proud of a data point I just got when I walked in this morning, is that the data point, which is that how quickly does our dispatch team dispatch your fire. So in particular, that number was over a minute and a half a year and a half ago or more, but now it's down to like 37 seconds. So what that means is of course, is that the 911 calls come in. Our team, the county's team, all of our team takes those, and we have fire-specific staff. But that radio, then they can respond as quickly as possible. We're never going to be perfect, but I think that team in particular that has that goal every day to get perfect. And Lord knows that it's a tough job, some terrible things that they have to deal with every day. So both a shout out to them, the shout out to our this countywide effort, and to know that we're never satisfied with the status quo. It's always about getting better and better and safer. To that end, the city of Covington incoming calls for 2024 was over almost 60,000 calls. Number one call volume in the county, which you would expect, right? Any urban center is going to have that. And for this year so far, we're at 26,500. So we don't see a monstrous increase, but we know that that's very consistent with the past number of years. And we have little blips. Summertime's a little heavier, et cetera. But I think it's important to know that. With the systems that support that are, number one, our radio system. You may all be aware that we do have now a regional radio system, so your police and fire can speak to different police departments and even across county lines, improve safety. That's all taken care of within our 911 dispatch budget. And then the other part of it is our CAD system. So we have a robust software program that supports all the first responders. And I give myself a challenge, because one of the goals in the future, how to improve this, is to try and make sure work towards a regional CAD system so that all three counties can have that same system and dispatch. And God forbid things happen, they can log in and then dispatch the police and fire and really ambulance teams in the fastest way possible without interruption. Huge investment. That's done as part of the 911 budget and the county budget as well. One in particular fact that I also like to call out. The MDTs that are in your cruisers and your fire trucks, those are paid for as part of the county dispatch system. They're updated regularly, so we don't get into this battle of, well, do we put it in this year's budget or next year's budget? The technology, the tech people tell us, hey, they're time to change them out. Let's change them out, and it gets done. Let's not debate about public safety, and that's the right way we should support that. Moving on to the other part of public safety is detention center, run very well by our jailer, Mark Fields. Covington, obviously, would make sense, is the #1 arresting agency in the county with almost 3,000 arrests. And we want to make sure that those individuals who need to be locked up are locked up, and those who need to get back out with support, there are systems that the jailer has developed with both addiction and other reentry programs to make sure that individuals have that. Managing that population so that we don't have individuals locked up that need to be there or don't need to be there. But great work with both your departments as well as the judges to make sure that happens every day. What does the population look like? Right now, it's about 600 a day, average population. That, at the highest pre-COVID, was about 900. And that comes with managing that population, both state prisoners and local prisoners. But great work there to make sure, again, we're there to make sure that that facility is there to protect the community, make sure that people are locked up who need to be locked up. In that area as well, our Kenton County PD, you've got we are out there operating. We're always there to support your city, but in reality, the reality is you've got a very sophisticated police department. We're going to be there and we'll continue to be there when needed. In particular, our focus is obviously down in corporate area and supporting accident reconstruction when needed, but more in particular, a very sad need, which is the Internet Crimes Against Children effort. Our team is out there and is very, very well respected to really make sure that we're keeping an eye on those perpetrators in the community and making sure that they're prosecuted and arrested if necessary to support all the cities in the county. In another area that we're working to continually support you all is Homeland Security and Emergency Management. So Steve Hensley and his team continue to be there, especially when it comes to things like flooding and needing to get federal reimbursements and things of that nature. Steve continues to be there and will always be there when needed, but not too much, and all the way up to and including, as the mayor and I have recently spoken about, things like when we have Riverfest. We keep our emergency management operation at the county building open while you do yours as well and where necessary, but that's always there. And within the facility that is at the County Government Center on Simon Kenton Way, we have that is a full backup to our countywide dispatch system. So if ever, God forbid, something happened where the facility incorporated was shut down, this is the home for the backup, and it's been tested. So it would be up and running in a matter of minutes, so both the technology, the screens, and dispatchers can operate there. On another area of course, you guys have a great public works department, and it's obvious when you drive around the city to see the impact of the investment your team there does. But we are always available for sharing of contracts. We constantly are talking about making sure the cities can always buy on the county contract, whatever that might be. Sometimes the cities are able to buy it cheaper, but in that case, we'd love to be on your contract. But all of our contracts are written so that any city in Kenton County can purchase whatever the item is on county contract. And as well as the services that we continue to provide, and I know it's sometimes a stressful thing, especially for an urban community, but is the animal control support at the animal shelter. We have a new director there now, and we've had a really good series of really good directors who continue to kind of raise the bar, both in terms of increasing volunteerism, increasing the live release rate of both cats and dogs that are collected. But in particular, there's ongoing challenges we all work through the population of the stray animals that need to be managed. It's an unforgiving challenge, but that'll be ongoing. That we want to make sure that we are responsive to the needs of the community, but also as we're working with the cities, and each city has their own specific need. To that end, we're almost 2,400 calls for animal control in 2024. That also is generally a flat number. But one of our great successes there is we now have a full-time vet who can work on our whole effort of, and I think you've heard more from our animal control team in the past, is that to try and spay and neuter animals as they come in, so if they're ever released or go back into homes, that's taken care of while they're at the shelter. The individuals don't have to take those to a local vet. So those are kind of the nuts and bolts things I want to update you on, but a couple of other items which we're very well aware of, and this is, again, I can't say enough about the mayor. Of course, thank you for his continued support, and Ken and leadership of his team. But things like the Covington, or we call it the CCBE, of course, the UK Chase, UK and NKU Chase School. That's coming to fruition in terms of finding location, continue to work through those options for the community. Very exciting, working with the port, and Christine Russell is obviously here this evening on another project we're very excited about that we've been partnering with, the Spark House. That's going to come on here later this summer. And you may not be aware, too, that the county's support and the efforts to help the 1KY Center get open. We added the financing capability for the needed gap financing that was there. Very exciting projects that will really add continued vitality and investment in Covington and therefore in Kenton County. We're very proud of both of those. And I'll end on talking about our park, but I really want to just speak to one last point, is that I've said this for a long time, and that I know this fiscal court knows, is that without a vibrant urban core of Covington and Kenton County doesn't really survive and doesn't thrive. That's a belief I have and will continue to believe, and I think that our continued support of the city shows that. To that end, one project that's not in the city but is absolutely, hopefully, is used by your residents, and that is the reinvestment of our both park and golf course. So the old Fox Run golf course that has been really used for passive recreation over the past couple of years will be transformed into really something that we can all be very proud of, and will be a destination park for Kenton County. Will not be duplicative of different resources that we all have in our parks, but we're investing in existing parks like Pioneer. You might see some of the recent investment in shelters. We're going to add another shelter that will be for families and companies to gather in, as well as the opening of the pickleball courts that are now, I've been told by our staff, we just need a couple of dry days so they get the painting done. But that'll continue, as well as the investment in, for your residents who golf at the golf course. We plan to invest in upgrading the clubhouse, not tearing it down or anything, but we're just going to make it even more usable by all of our residents. So with that, I'll be quiet, but just want to say, again, congratulations on the continued successes. We're going to continue here to be a partner and celebrate the continued growth and prosperity of Covington. So with that, I'll open up. If you have any questions or if you want me to sit down, I'll be quiet, but happy. I'm glad to always be here.
Thank you, Judge. Commissioner Smith?
Well, one, thank you so much for being here, very, very much. Just a couple questions. You mentioned, and this is me and for the public as well, you mentioned, is it MDTS that you said?
MDT, so the mobile data terminal, so the computers.
Okay, and I wanted the public to know that that is something that you were providing, and let them know exactly what that was, because I had no idea. So thank you for that. The second thing that I was going to say is, I recognize that historically we've not collaborated as much as we've wanted, and that's why I just want to say sincerely thank you for coming here and talking to us and keeping us updated. And I have to continue to give a shout out, because when I first ran for office, one of the reasons that I was running is because there were some county entities that I had difficulties with, and it has just it's flipped. And one of the main ones was PDS, and I have to call out Sharmali Reddy, because she has been absolutely brilliant, and I just want to say that you've done a good job. And because we have a historic building stock in Covington, more so than any other place in the state, we have unique challenges, and you all have been amenable to that, understanding those nuances, and you've worked with us, and I just want to say thank you for everything. That's all. And
just a shout out to not only Sharmali, but an acknowledgement. You know, the PDS Management Board really deserves that credit. You know, we're there to support as another entity that obviously PDS is a great partner, but it all comes down to people and leadership, and they're doing a great job. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions for the judge? Just want to amplify what Vice Mayor Smith said. It's good to work with the county on various projects, and we look forward to working with you in the future. It's been a ride, and we'll just keep on rolling, man.
Great.
So, you know, it's really a new day in Covington to have a partner such as Kenton County, and your team's working with our team quite well. And I've said it before, we're not going to agree on everything, but at least we're trying to move our communities forward. And I thank you for being here.
You bet. And I'll just call out one item that I did forget, by the way, which is important for everybody to realize, is the redevelopment funds that we have and site readiness funds. So we have what that is dollars available that we have are partnering with cities. And again, you probably already know this, but I think it's just important to remind ourselves that when you have different pieces of property across our community, in particular Covington tonight, that might need a little edge to ideally get set up for redevelopment, we have a fund that was obtained through the Commonwealth, and that money is able to be partnered with so that we can just, obviously, we want to make sure that the free market drives things, right? But sometimes you just need to give property owners an opportunity to exit so that it can be redeveloped. And so we've already done that with Independence, working on things with 2 or 3 other cities as well as our investment of site readiness so that we have different projects, and we've invested in infrastructure both in Fort Mitchell, Ellesmere, to help projects come in, as well as get some of that infrastructure that isn't directly the burden of SD1 or Water District, but it's something that we need to partner with to do. So that's there, and we're going to continue to utilize those funds as well. But again, thanks for the comments and appreciate the time tonight. So.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay. Moving down the agenda. City Manager's report.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I just have one thing I wanted to share with you tonight, and that's a shout out to Lieutenant Colonel Winship. You may not know this, but I don't know why you wouldn't know this, but our service weapons at the police department, the make and model had been discontinued. Well, actually not discontinued. We could only get it in hunter green, and the chief felt hunter green might not be the appropriate color for our weapons. So Winship helped write a grant for the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security, and they're going to provide us over $91,000 to replace all our weapons. The alternative would have been to phase in a new weapon so that we would have officers with different handguns on the streets, and that would obviously be less than ideal. But so we will be able to do that all at one time, and so that was a great win for the city, and we don't have hunter green guns.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Anything else?
That's it. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
There's a request for CBC to present next week.
Correct. That is the first agenda item the CBC would like to present next week at the legislative meeting to share some of the economic studies that NKU has done reflecting the impact of businesses.
Without objection. We look forward to hearing from them next week. Economic Development, Patrick Duffy.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Here tonight to present our Small Business Incentive Program, facade, rent subsidy, and historic signs. I will start with the rent subsidy. Actually, first of all, do an overview. This current round, we will have 9 projects totaling $55,500, and that leaves a remaining $15,800 total. And from 2017 to present date, we have helped 162 different businesses with this program. First rent subsidy that I have for you is Feel Something LLC. We actually have a representative, Logan Willoughby, here with us today. This is a vintage retail store in the heart of Riddy's Corner. They received letters of support from the Small Business Development Center, as well as the Latonia Business Association. They are located at 3706 DeCourcy. They represent experience the Cub sector, and they'll have an estimated payroll of about $50,000. Staff recommends approval of a $6,000 rent subsidy.
Any questions? Without objection, consent.
Thank you. The next is Goods LLC. This is actually, it'll actually say Rivertown Vintage LLC, but the business will be called Goods. So my apologies there. It is we have Kyle Wolf here, who is the part owner. It's a vintage retail shop right across the street here, 33 West Pike. They provide a business plan with 3-year projections. This will actually be their second retail shop here in Covington, so that's great that they're kind of expanding there. They are in the experience the Cubs sector, and staff recommends a $6,000 rent subsidy for Goods or Rivertown LLC. Rivertown Vintage LLC.
Any questions? Without objection, consent.
Thank you. The next is Pilates on Pike. That is also located right across the street here at 31 West Pike. This is a cutting-edge Pilates studio. Actually, we do have Meredith here tonight for this Pilates studio. So they're going to provide single or group classes. They provided a business plan with projections, and staff recommends approval of a $6,000 rent subsidy.
Any questions? Without objection, consent.
And finally, for the rent subsidies, I have Breathe Wellness Studio LLC. That is 118 West Pike Street on the second floor. They're a wellness studio. They do not have any representatives here tonight. Oh, we do have one. There's Jennifer. She came in with Breathe Wellness Studio. It's a unique wellness studio that provides yoga, breath work, sound healing, and massage all under one roof. That's pretty rare. It's filling a vacancy of about 1 year. They submitted a very extensive business plan, one of the best I've seen. And staff recommends approval of a $6,000 rent subsidy.
Without objection, consent.
All right, thank you. We are now moving on to the facade projects. So the first one is 701 Madison Avenue, owned by CB Holdings. We actually have Brandon Calkins here with us tonight. So you may know this building as the former Rich's Proper. This $47,868,000 facade project will include pressure washing, tuck pointing, painting, new trim, flashing, downspout repair, and new windows. But the most exciting part about this is the Rich's sign is going to stay. It's actually going to, as you can see, will change from Rich's to Noche, which will actually bring in a new restaurant tenant, which you see in the picture here. Pretty extensive project. Staff recommends a $6,000 facade grant for 701 Madison Avenue.
Any questions? Seeing none, consent.
My next facade grant is 210 West Pike Street. We actually have Lindsay Whittle here tonight. It's owned by Sparklezilla, which great name, by the way. This $23,400 project includes tuck pointing, painting, the building's facade, and it is a local contractor. And it's also home to the Peak Art Gallery. Staff recommends a $6,000 facade grant for 210 West Pike Street.
Any questions? Seeing none, consent.
The next project is a little bit up the street here at 326, 328 West Pike Street. I believe I saw Christine with Muggsy Development here tonight. This $29,550 project includes replacing the storefront windows, tuck pointing, paint, and one of the entryways will have a ramp, slightly changing that entryway there. Currently, it is home to Doulas of Cincinnati, and staff recommends a $6,000 facade grant.
Any questions? Seeing none, consent.
And my final facade project for the night, another agreement with Muggsy LLC, a little further up the street, 341 to 343 West Pike. This $27,951 facade project will include replacement of the storefront windows and trim and a new knee wall. Now, this project will attract a new restaurant or bar, maybe cafe tenant to that corner. And this space has been vacant almost 2 years. Obviously, there's a substantial amount of interior work, but as you can see, the rendering is very nice. Staff recommends a $6,000 facade grant.
Any questions? Seeing none, consent.
And our final project, very exciting, historic electric sign grant project at 727 Madison Avenue. We do have Christine from the Northern Kentucky Port Authority. And what you'll see here on this project is the Northern Kentucky Port Authority is restoring the historic Sims furniture sign. It will reflect the new tenant, who will be Spark House, which is the largest entrepreneurial hub in Kentucky and will be operated by Blue North. You can see the renderings of the current state of the sign along with the new sign, both day and night. It's a very exciting project, and staff recommends approval of the $7,500 historic electric sign grant.
Any questions? Seeing none, consent.
Thank you.
Okay. So before we move to economic development, let me just explain to the fine people what just happened. So the staff presented the request. They've looked at it and they've presented it to us, and we've put it on the consent agenda. What that means is that likely you will get the subsidy. Very seldom are items pulled off the consent agenda. They now will go to the legislative agenda, which will be next week. This will give us time to look at it. Any commissioner could pull it back if they want to, or ask staff. But that usually doesn't happen because there's already been the reading of your documents and we're okay with it. So I will say this, we really appreciate your hard work. Being an entrepreneur, we know it's not easy. We know that you're the last ones to get paid. We thank you for taking a risk on our city. We believe it's well worth it. And as many of you know, we were named one of the top cities last year by Money Magazine's, one of the top 50 cities. And one of the reasons is because how we look and treat our small businesses. We really feel that is our bread and butter. You know, we embrace what Covington is, the quirky side of it, and you're part of that. So thank you for investing in our city. Commissioner Smith.
I just wanted to quickly echo what Mayor Washington said. I'm an entrepreneur. I think we've got several entrepreneurs up here, and I can tell you I'm also an attorney, and I've worked with a lot of cities, and this city is more cooperative and supportive than almost any city that I've worked with across Kentucky or Ohio or Indiana and even in Tennessee. We've got a top-notch staff here, and I sincerely appreciate you guys investing in this city, and if you need us, we're here for you. That's all that I wanted to say, so thank you. That's all.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Director West.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners, and to all of you entrepreneurs, welcome to the COB. I've got two items on here that are related to each other. The first is a request for a presentation of the update to the economic development strategy in this very room a little over 5 years ago. That commission saw a presentation and voted to approve the current economic development strategy. So we're asking that you allow time next week. We can either do it at the beginning of the meeting or we can do it in conjunction with the legislation. But we're asking that this be put on regular along with an order, which is the second item on there, item 12, to actually adopt that update.
Any questions for Mr. West? Madam Clerk, if we could put this as item number 2 under presentations for next week under CBC, after CBC. So it'll be on the agenda for regular.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bryan.
Good evening. My first item is an order for the mayor to accept and sign a grant agreement, KY 25-10003, for the Covington Academy of Heritage Trades instructors' fees. It is a grant agreement with the Kentucky Heritage Council to fund expenses related to the Heritage Trades instructors' fees in the amount of $10,032. This is a reimbursement grant program and requires that the school matches the grant with $6,688.
Any questions? I have a question.
Okay.
That's an old picture, huh? I see the IRS up there, so, anyway, so without objection, yeah, I just glanced up there and there's the IRS. It's a vacant spot now. Without objection, consent. Next
And
item.
my second item is for the mayor to accept and sign a grant agreement KY 25-10004 for the Northern Kentucky Restoration Weekend Program. It is an agreement with the Kentucky Heritage Council to fund expenses related to NKY restoration in the amount of $9,000. This is a reimbursement grant program, and the matching funds of $6,000 are made from staff time and fundraising and volunteer work.
Any questions? Without objection, consent. Thank you. Next item, administration, IT. Isam.
Evening, Mayor and Commission. Tonight, I'm requesting your approval for a 12-month contract renewal with Alta Fiber for our internet and phone services to support the city's critical communication infrastructure. This renewal ensures uninterrupted connectivity for city operations, supports reliable communication across all departments, and maintains high-speed internet service for our employees and residents. The cost of the contract will be $70,000, $5.56, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Commissioner Smith?
So this has nothing to do with our free wireless internet initiative for the
Correct.
city.
It's
Is that
not
right?
the Covington Connect service.
Okay. And for now, that's the only question I have. Thank you.
Commissioner, that's, okay. Same thing? Okay. All right. Without objection, consent.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Administration departments, our clerk.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I have 4 items related to our records management program. The first one is an ordinance amendment, just really updating the language in our ordinance for how we are currently processing contracts. We are doing that more electronically to get away from the paper. There was old language that 2 copies needed to be printed, and we have not been doing that. So it's really just an update to keep the language in line with our process.
Any questions for the clerk? Okay. So this will be on for next week for its first reading.
Okay, the next item I have is an amendment to the rules of procedure for the commission meetings. This has to do with legislative packets. What I would like to propose is that if a contract is on the consent agenda, that we don't reprint that, just to save resources, time, materials, and a few trees if we can.
Any questions? Without objection, consent.
Okay, the third item has to do with the numbering of legislation, and it's just really a formal adoption of how we are numbering the legislation. Back in 1940, we had adopted a way of numbering the legislation, and as we approach 2040, we would end up with duplicate numbers. Also, having moved all our legislation and working on getting it digitized and on SharePoint, it will help with the sorting of the numbers so that staff can locate our orders and our ordinances a little more efficiently.
Any questions? Seeing none, consent.
And the last item is the formal adoption of the city policy manual. This has been a project that's been ongoing for quite some time, and there was a desire of previous couple commissions, just, let's get all the policies in one place. So that has been done with our SharePoint, and so it's a formal adoption of this is our city policy manual. Spent a lot of time doing research, trying to find all the policies. There might be some stray ones out there, but this order will clean up anything that was prior to what sits there right now would be nullified. And then, of course, if we find we need something or we missed something, we would just redo the policy as a new AIR.
Any, Commissioner Ackley?
Will we have to do this again when we change government next year? Or would there be anything that would be affected?
I am really not sure on that. I would have to defer a bit to Frank. If there are policies that mention positions that will go away, commissioners will become council people, and city manager, administrator, we would need to update those, but we could do it all at once, or we could do it policy per policy, whatever's would be best or recommended.
Attorney Schultz?
Yeah. I completely agree with our city clerk. Most of the policy manual would not need to be changed, but there will be certain spots in there where, like our city clerk said, where it refers to commissioners or positions that are no longer at the city.
Any other questions for the clerk? Regular? Legal department?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. First item for your consideration tonight is an order authorizing the renewal of liability and property insurance policies with Kentucky League of Cities Insurance Services for the coverage period, basically this upcoming fiscal year.
Any questions for the solicitor? Seeing none, consent.
Thank you, Mayor. Next item is a request for an order authorizing the transfer of real property at 338 Garrett Street to the Commonwealth of Kentucky for the use and benefit of the Transportation Cabinet, Department of Highways, and authorizing the mayor to execute the deed and related documents to complete the transfer. So this has to do with that little sliver of property right by the 4th Street Bridge. This map on page 2, it's quite explanatory. It shows in blue the items of the property, parts of the property that would be deeded to KYTC or to the Commonwealth, and then in yellow is an area that would be used for temporary right to use for construction easement. As compensation, the city will be receiving $80,700. Any questions?
Any questions? Yep. Seeing none, without objection, consent.
Thank you, Mayor. And if I could make one point or one note on that, Mayor, I just want to give a special thanks to Star Ford, my senior assistant city solicitor, and Elizabeth Wetzel. The deed that they were forced to look at here dates all the way back to 1870, and it was incredibly difficult to do the legwork just to get this transfer through. So I just want to give them my appreciation and say great job and thank you.
Thank you to Star and Elizabeth, and I think also Keith Bales was consulted on this.
Yes, he was. That's true.
Yes, thank you, because
Sorry, Keith.
he might have been around back then. I'm kidding. All right, so without objection, that goes to consent. Also, Brandon. I've got John Hammonds, but you're going to take it over?
For this evening, yes.
That's okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Just one item from Neighborhood Services tonight, and as a request for a presentation/public hearing in connection with the 2025 to 2030 Home and CDBG Consolidated Plan. This is a requirement by HUD that we do every year. The 5-year plan is a little bit more intensive with community engagement, though. So John will be up here next week, if approved, to do his presentation, and immediately after that, we'll open for public comments.
Okay, any objection to the public hearing? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, can I have that as number 3, please?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Human Resources Director Lewis.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. The first item I have for your consideration this evening is an order approving the hire of Tyler Setter, and he would be a police officer in the police department, and this would be effective July 14th.
Any questions Without objection, consent.
Next is an order approving the hire of Dan Wohler as communication managers, and this would be effective June 30th.
Without objection. No questions. Without objection, consent.
And lastly, this evening, this would be my walk-on. This is our annual renewal for our workers' compensation policy. We will continue to go with KEME, and we are actually seeing a decrease in what is called the EMOD, and to go into explanation for that right now would be more of an actuarial conversation. So we're seeing a decrease from 0.88 to 0.87, and this is considered in our next budget.
Any questions? Without objection, consent. Thank you, ma'am. Hey, Keith.
Good evening. Tonight's agenda request is to renew our annual purchase agreement with the fiscal court in order to obtain our road salt through Compass Mineral at the price that the county is able to receive.
Any questions? Without objection, consent. Thank you, sir. Finance Department. Oh, Pete.
Yes, sir.
Is this the first time you presented for us?
Yes, sir.
Well, welcome aboard, Pete. We won't make it too hard.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Commissioner, City Manager.
Thank you.
I am Covington's Procurement Officer, Pete Hager. It's a pleasure to join you this evening to support your consideration to amend an increase to the city's petty cash fund policy positions from $25 limits to $100 limits. The city's adoption of payment cards has nearly rendered petty cash funds obsolete, yet there still remain very few scenarios where services and supplies are needed from sources that don't accept payment cards. Over time, inflation has diluted the $25 authorized limit for these transactions to be nearly as obsolete. Therefore, in order to maintain efficient operations, it's recommended you consider increasing the authorized transaction amounts to $100. 3 city policy statements could be impacted by your actions. Finance Department Policies and Procedures Manual, Procurement Policies and Procedures Manual.
Hang on one second, Pete.
Yes, sir.
Number 26. Any questions? No questions. Without seeing any questions, without any objection, consent. Go.
Police Department, Procurement Policies and Procedures Manual. Now, on the agenda, I'll go Police Department, Petty Cash Policy.
Any questions? No questions? No objections? Consent?
And then finally, the Procurement Policy Manual amendment.
Any questions?
I have one.
I have one question. Commissioner Tabby?
Just for clarification, because some people would not be aware, what would some examples of what the petty cash should be used for?
Well, I can give you one very specific one that's really kind of driving this change, and that is the Public Works Department is required to have vehicles inspected by Kenton County, and they have recently increased their fee to a total $35. So as a workaround in the interim, Public Works has been handling those because there are 2 components of the fee. One is the inspection fee, and the other portion of it is a transportation fee to come to Public Works to do the inspection. So they've been handling those as split transactions, one for the inspection, which keeps it below 25, and then one for the transportation fee. So that's really, I think, there's no better example than that. So we can get back to being efficient on behalf of the Public Works Department and how we conduct our business. And the county won't accept payment cards for those transactions. So there's no other alternative for us to get those through.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Question, Pete, I don't think you can answer this, but it might be Chief Valente. So how are we purchasing illegal narcotics? How are we purchasing illegal narcotics? So we've got 100, we'll hold the mic for Chief Valente.
So I assume you're talking about in the drug unit. So it's actually a line item in our budget. It's not, it doesn't come out of petty cash.
Doesn't come out of, so there's cash set aside for it then?
Correct.
That you have somewhere that you just set aside?
Correct.
Okay.
It's actually in a totally separate line item. They have to keep accounting on it. It gets audited regularly.
It's audited. And while you're up there, Chief, we received a visit from Kalia?
We have. He's currently here not here in the building, but at our police department. He arrived yesterday, and he was here all day today, and will be there for part of the day tomorrow.
Okay.
From everything I've gathered so far, everything seems to be going fairly well. I was supposed to meet with him Monday, but he had some flight issues, so we're going to meet tomorrow sometime.
That's good. So what Kalia is a national organization that accredits our police department, and every so often they look through our policies and procedures manuals to make sure we're adhering to things, and they interview the city manager and elected representatives of the city, and I've had a meeting with the gentleman so far. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. So on item 28, no more questions, I assume. Without objection, consent. As also you look over the agenda, you'll see that there's various board appointments that I'm asking to be considered for next week. And also there's some add-ons that was added to the dais. They'll be on the agenda for next week. So without any objections, those will go on to consent. Also, just a reminder, we'll have a second reading of an ordinance at the legislative session. Now moving on to commissioner discussion items. Commissioners have anything to discuss? Seeing none. Commissioner comments? Commissioner Tebby?
I just want to put a reminder that the Read Ready Covington, they'll be having our Early Childhood Fun Fest this Friday from 4 to 7 at Randolph Park. Ages for that are 6 and under. I've attended quite a few city events, and participation hasn't been great, so I'm hoping to see a lot of neighborhood kids out at this event Friday.
Thank you, Commissioner Tebby. Go ahead, Commissioner Ackrey.
Yeah, on the same line, the household hazardous waste is Saturday at Holmes High School. So if you have something, don't throw it on the ground, bring it to Holmes High School, please.
Okay. No. Okay. Comments. I have one comment, or a couple actually. Participated in the Juneteenth celebration. My hat goes off to the organizers and the people that participated in the parade, and also the event, and also to our officers who were also down at the landing, and for their assistance with the parade. Also, Old Timers is coming up. It's a community event that we have on the east side of town. We are actually having a community meeting tomorrow at 12 noon, so the community members are more than welcome to come down to City Hall as we talk about, discuss applicants who've requested a permit. So, seeing no other business, we're adjourned.